So as we are waiting for more to join, we're going to join and we're going to promptly start in a couple minutes. So we want to make sure that we have everything up and running. So my two questions, if you just joined, is what part of the state are you coming from? If you're from Texas, or even if you're out of state, let us know where you're coming from. And then my second question was, today is a good day. You've had a whole day of training from yesterday and a lot of wonderful sessions. So how are you feeling today? Okay, I see Atlanta is in the house. All right, somebody says they're feeling pretty nice. Oh yeah, it is a beautiful morning in Texas because yeah, we can't do that cold too well. So it was really nice that the sun has come out and is giving us a little bit warm up on what this temperature has been. I know it might not be cold for some of you people who are used to dealing with cold, but in Austin, once we hit a certain degree, we kind of shut down. So we got McKinney, we got Denton, Texas, and they say that they're feeling great. The weather is beautiful. All right, let's get some more people in here so we can get started today. We'll be starting in a few minutes. For those that just joined us, I just want to remind you what we're doing is telling me where you're from, and whether it's from Texas or whatever state, and also how you're feeling today after a wonderful day of sessions on yesterday. A lot of great conference sessions yesterday. I really enjoyed myself. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself also.
I feel great. I wanted to say hello, Sonia. It's me, Alex.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you.
All right, it is 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and continue to go forward. So before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is Sendero Health Plans. We want to thank them for making this possible. We have some housekeeping items that we have to go over. So this is a safe and supportive space, so please help us maintain a respectful and inclusive environment. Please mute yourself at all times. Use the chat function in Whova to interact with other attendees. And for questions for the presenter, please use the Q&A in Whova as well. If you feel overwhelmed or need to talk to someone during the session, please call 512-472-4357. Press 1 and then 1 again for immediate emotional support. Between sessions, you can visit our comfort suite where we provide a safe haven. You'll find the comfort suite in the community under the main navigation in Whova. We have a number of surveys. So if you're registered for a CEU, please check the chat for the links. The first link will sign you in for the CEU. Please sign in at the beginning of your session. So if you're looking for CEUs, that link is already in the chat. After the workshop, there will be another link for CEU evaluations. Please click on that link for a short evaluation, which also includes the CEU request form. Once you completed the evaluation, you'll be taken to a page with a link to get your CEU certificate. The third link in the session evaluation, please take this survey as well for a chance to win a $25 gift card. So there will be a link at the end that's also going to give you the survey for the session. Please complete it and get a chance to win that $25 gift card. I also need to let you know that we have some great conference merchandise. So be sure to check out our online store at ctaafsc.com/shop. Please join me in welcoming our presenter, Tamu Lewis. Tamu Lewis, MBA, is the co-founder and board president of the LTY Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to mental health education. She is also a certified parent success coach. She founded the LTY Foundation as a living legacy to her brother, actor Lee Thompson Young, whom she lost to suicide in 2013. Knowing that her brother struggled with bipolar disorder and suffered in silence, Tamu is passionate about helping moms cultivate emotional well-being for themselves and their children. Tamu has gained invaluable life lessons and practical solutions to help moms find a sense of relief, reclaim their joy, and optimize their mental wellness to achieve the life they desire and deserve. Now let's enjoy the presentation. We'll be back together soon for a live Q&A.
Thank you. Again, I am Tamu Lewis, and I am excited to share this information with you around parenting mental health, optimizing your mental wellness, and regaining your joy. So first, I want to start by asking you a question. What do you think of when you hear the word mental health? If there was just one word, what would you say that describes what mental health means to you? You can type that in the chat. All right, so I think of brain health, right? I think of the mind, all right? And then my second question for you is, why do you think that most families keep their mental health concerns and challenges to themselves? I'll repeat that. Why do you think most families keep their mental health concerns and challenges to themselves? And again, you can type your answer in the chat. All right, so then I'll add to that. I feel like they keep it to themselves because of the stigma associated with mental health, also shame and guilt, because we want to be able to make things better. So we feel some guilt around the challenges that we have regarding mental health. All right, so if I may, I will just share a little bit of my background before we jump into our presentation around parenting mental health. So I have a background of 23 plus years in human resources. And I started the Thompson Young Foundation in 2014 after losing my brother to suicide in 2013. He suffered in silence with bipolar disorder due to the fear, really, fear that he would be judged, misunderstood, and blackballed in Hollywood. He was a successful actor in Hollywood. So as a result of that loss, my mom and I wanted to do something to promote mental health education and help to erase that stigma so that people are able to discuss their challenges and get the support that they need. So I am, as an extension of that work that we've been doing in the Thompson Young Foundation since 2014, I am really passionate about working with parents. And I am a parent, and I happen to be raising a teenage daughter with bipolar disorder, the same illness that my brother was diagnosed with. And it's not really about diagnosis, it's about mental health overall. So even if someone doesn't have a diagnosis, your child or yourself, we all have mental health because we have a brain, right? So we need to take care of our mental health just like our physical health. So we'll go ahead and get started with our actual presentation. So I am going to share my screen. All right, so here we go. Parenting mental health, optimizing your mental wellness, and regaining your joy. So first, I have an exercise for you, and you will either be able to complete this as a poll, or you can type your answers in the chat. So the first question in this exercise is, what are your expectations of your child? So you would rate this question on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. First question, what are your expectations of your child? Number 2, how high does your child think your expectations are of them? Number 2, how high does your child think your expectations are of them? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Number 3, to what degree do you expect your child to do better than you? To what degree do you expect your child to do better than you? Number 4, to what degree do you find it challenging to effectively communicate with your child? Number 4, to what degree do you find it challenging to effectively communicate with your child? All right, so thank you all for participating. This is a little assessment that will help us facilitate learning today. All right, so that was just some food for thought, and we will come back to that. Now I want to go on and share some impacts of COVID-19 on mental health. I have a lot of information on this slide, but I have a couple of points that are highlighted here that I will call out. This information is from Mental Health America, and they are able to gather these statistics because they have a screening on their website. So they're able to gather information a little faster and publish it than the government. So one of the things I want to highlight is with this screening through Mental Health America, it showed that the proportion of youth from ages 11 to 17 who completed the screening was 9% higher than that number in 2019. So this information that you see on this slide is from 2020. All right, so we see this increase of 9%. So youth ages 11 to 17 have been more likely than any other age group to score for moderate to severe symptoms of anxiety and depression. And this is a result of everything going on with the pandemic, the changes in routine, the unknown, the stress of that, losing people to the illness, and just our regular way of being has changed and had to accommodate the restrictions due to COVID-19. More on that spotlight information from Mental Health America. The rate of suicidal ideation are highest among youth, so that has increased as well. And then 70% reported that one of the top 3 things contributing to their mental health concerns was loneliness and isolation. So we know that during the pandemic, a lot of our students had to go to school online, do things virtually. And even if they were able to or are able to now go back into the classroom, there are restrictions that weren't in place before. And then us as parents and adults, a lot of us may be working virtually now when we were accustomed to going into the office and having that face-to-face interaction and connections, and may not have realized that that made a positive difference. Like just having that interaction and connection had a positive impact on our lives. So when that is taken away or modified, then we have some of these natural feelings of loneliness and isolation. So the pandemic caused a heightened state of stress, and we know that our bodies are not meant to operate at a heightened state of stress over an extended period of time. And one of the things I wanted to call out on this slide is that stress shows up in different ways for different people. So there may be some symptoms of stress that you are experiencing and you're not even connecting it to stress. So this information here comes from the Center for Disease Control, and it's showing the different ways that stress can show up, and particularly related to all of this external environment dealing with the pandemic. So stress can cause feelings of fear, anger, sadness, worry, numbness, or frustration. There may be changes in appetite, level of energy. desires, things that you're interested in. These things may change because of stress. You may experience difficulty concentrating and making decisions, difficulty sleeping or nightmares. And we know that sleep is very important, right? So if you're not getting enough rest, it impacts how you are able to show up and perform and be present the next day. So this is true in our children and in ourselves. So that sleep is very important. There might also be physical reactions such as headaches, body aches, stomach problems, even rashes. If you already had some health issues, those may be made worse due to stress. If you have mental health conditions, those could be made worse. And then we've also seen an increase in substance abuse as a result of this heightened state of stress. So here we have some healthy ways to cope with stress. The first is to take breaks. Take breaks from watching, reading, or listening to news stories. Because typically what is being reported are things that can cause stress. So we know we all want to be informed. We want to know what's going on in the world. But if you're constantly listening to it throughout the day on your radio or your Alexa or your mobile device, and then you're watching it at night, your brain is just being fed all of this information about these stressful situations. So it is a good idea to take a break. Next, take care of your body. Then make time to unwind. So there are different things that we can do that work for us that are methods of taking care of our bodies. And then making sure that you look at your calendar and schedule some time to unwind and relax and be able to be present and experience life. One of the key things that is helpful around taking care of yourself and your children is to build resiliency. So what you can do to build resiliency? First, you can get connected. Make sure that you have healthy relationships and encourage healthy relationships with your children. So you might say, you don't have close relationships with friends or families. Well, you can build those. You can join an interest group, or regarding your children, you can encourage friendships through their activities. So healthy relationships are very important because these people can provide support to you when things aren't going so well, and they can celebrate with you when things are going well, so they can provide support. Next, make every day meaningful. So make sure that you do something each day that provides you with a sense of accomplishment. So this could be something simple. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. It could be something like reaching out to a friend who you know needs some support. So you feel good because you were able to provide that support, okay? So make every day meaningful. Next, learn from experience. So I know that all of us have been through something because we've made it to this point today to join in this conference and be inspired and learn from the various resources that are shared. Learning from experience provides some brain evidence, right? So what I like to do is actually reflect and write down my wins. Oftentimes we get so caught up with our and everything that we're working on and caring for our children and our loved ones that we forget to give ourselves credit. So what you want to do is remember, right? Remind yourself of what you've already come through. And this is evidence to your brain that whatever challenges you're facing currently or whatever challenges may come, you can overcome those. You can get through those just like you've done in the past. All right? Next, remain hopeful. So you can't change what has happened in the past. You can learn from it, but you can't change it. What you can do is look forward to the future and be hopeful about what is to come. So bring that positive energy to the situation. The last thing here around building resiliency is to be proactive. So we know that life's challenges will come up, right? That's just part of life. But what you can do is when you know there's a problem, look at it, figure out what you need to address the problem. So plan for it. If there's a resource that you need, if there's some research you need to do, if there's a person that you need, go ahead and think through that and be proactive about solving or addressing that problem so that it does not fester and get larger. Next, we have intentional self-care, right? So you knew self-care was coming. We hear a lot about self-care in the media, commercials, articles, stuff on the news. You know why? Because we still don't do a good job of self-care. So I want to challenge you to go deeper when you think about self-care. Oftentimes we might think of things that we feel treat ourselves, like going to the nail salon, which I think is great, getting a massage or getting a dessert you like, or going shopping for yourself, or doing an activity that you like. But there's also some things that are a little deeper that cause us to go in and really nurture our souls. So I have a few things listed here on this slide. And I do want to say, I'm not saying those things aren't great. They are, and I like to participate in those things as well. But I also want to encourage you to do things that really nurture your soul and to do them on a consistent basis. So we have meditation. And I know a lot of people say, well, I cannot sit there still, like doing nothing. But there's different forms of meditation. You can do a guided meditation, and it doesn't have to be very long to make a difference. So it doesn't have to be 30 minutes, right? It can be 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes each morning to allow yourself a time to get grounded, settled for the day. It helps to increase your focus, right? So you could do that each morning and just set yourself up for a great day. Or you might choose to do it at the end of the day, maybe when you're exhausted and you've been stressed at work. But find something that works for you. We also have art listed here. So there's various forms of art. Unleashing your creativity really helps to provide some self-care. So that could be dancing, singing, it could be drawing or painting, it could be playing an instrument, right? So there's all sorts of art that helps to nurture self-care. And then there's exercise. And I'm going to admit to you, I am not one who enjoys exercise. I enjoy the benefits, but the thought of it is not like pleasing to me, right? But I do it because I know that it is necessary to take care of myself. So there's different forms of exercise. And the key is to find something that resonates with you, that you can be consistent and do on a regular basis. So I enjoy yoga and Pilates and walking. I can fit those things in. I also really enjoy group exercise because I feel like we have that built-in accountability, and I had to make adjustments with that because of the pandemic. But there's, of course, virtual groups that you can join and take classes from home, or you can, go back in person and take classes. The point with the exercise is to find something, again, that you can include in your routine and be consistent with that. And you might find that you want to switch it up every now and then, because maybe you get bored with one particular exercise or another, so you can switch it or rotate them out. So here we have our next exercise. So this exercise is around positive language to use with your child, because this is all about parenting mental health. And we covered building resiliency and self-care because you are the key as the parent. You are the key to having a positive impact on your child's mental health. So it's very important to take care of yourself. And then that allows you to show up better for yourself and for your family. All right. So this second exercise is around positive language. So I'm going to give you some prompts, and then you can type your answer in the chat. All right. So the first one is, when you say, "Why are you crying?" I want you to type in the chat a way that you could say this in a more positive light. So these are phrases that we may typically hear parents say to their children that may be received negatively by your child. So when I say the phrase, then you type in the chat a way to positively rephrase that statement. Okay, so the first one is, "Why are you crying?" All right. So this could actually be seen as like questioning my feelings if I'm the child. If you're asking me, "Why am I crying?" are you saying that you think what I'm crying about is not important? Right? So a way to phrase that is, "I understand that you are upset. We can talk when you are ready." Okay. The next one is, the next phrase, "Take care of your mom or your brother and sister while I'm gone." This is the phrase, "Take care of your mom or your siblings while I'm gone." This can actually feel like pressure, right? We think this is normal when we have like children, some that are older and some that are younger that would, automatically babysit, right? You trust them, but we have to stop and think about how are they receiving that? Because a lot of times our children may internalize pressure because they want to please us, right? They want to be able to do the things that we've asked them to do. So another way to rephrase this would be sure to take care of yourself and help others. All right. The next phrase is, "I'm not one of your little friends." Okay. You know how you may be having that discussion with your child and you get a little agitated. You say, "Hey, I'm not one of your little friends," right? So this can actually feel demeaning to the child. A way to rephrase that is to say, "I'm your parent and I want what is best for you." I'm your parent and I want what is best for you. The next one is, "I don't care what your friend or your friend's mom said." I don't care what your friend or your friend's mom said. I am not them. This can feel dismissive. Okay? So a way to rephrase that is to say, "I'm your parent and I want what is best for you. Help me understand your feelings," right? Because the child may be bringing up what's happening with other people's, in other people's household, what they've heard from their friends. So there's a reason that they're bringing this up. They feel a need to justify whatever it is they're asking for from you. So you want to understand what their feelings are and why they're bringing this up. All right. So feel free to put your answers in the chat. So there's different ways, of course, to change these phrases around to make it more positive and foster that open communication between you and your child. Next, this flows right into our communication tips that we can use with youth. The first tip is to talk about feelings. So be honest and talk about your actual feeling versus just having the reaction come out. So if you are stressed and tired and you need a moment at the end of your workday, just say that. And then that sort of takes the edge off. So you are not responding to the children in an agitated way. You're stating what's actually going on, and they can give you a moment, right? One of the things that I used to do with my girls when they were growing up, they are 17 and 19 now, but I would be stressed at the end of the day. So what I would do is once I picked them up and got home, I would go into my room and meditate for 20 minutes. And I would let them know I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes. And they're like, cool. They would not bother me for the 20 minutes. I would close my door, and that 20 minutes of meditation would then refresh me. So then when I came out, I was able to be present and get through our evening routine with less resistance, okay? The next thing is to listen first and talk second. Now, this can be hard for us as parents because we feel like we have lived and we have learned and we have this experience that we can share with our children to help them avoid some mistakes and pitfalls, right? But we want to validate their feelings as well. So be sure to listen first and talk second. Next, be honest and transparent at an age-appropriate level. When there's things going on at school, the neighborhood, the society at large, our children will hear different things and they will make up their own sort of stories and explanations in their mind, okay? Particularly when there's things going on in our home. So instead of letting them sort of come up with these stories that may or may not be accurate, it is best to go ahead and be honest and transparent with what's going on and let them hear that from you. So if there's something going on and you don't know the answer, you can say you don't know the answer. If there's some challenges going on in the home, tell them, because they know anyway. Like when you're trying to hide things, they figure it out anyway, and then they come up with their own stories. So we want to make sure that they have accurate information and they have the truth, okay? The last communication tip is to apologize when you mess up, right? And some of you might be like, I'm not about to apologize to my child, but this is necessary because you are modeling behavior that you want to see. So apologizing is taking accountability for the mistake, right? And we're all human, so we make mistakes. So it is important to take that accountability and apologize when you mess up. My why. So it is so important for me to share this information with you today, as I mentioned, because of my brother actor, Thompson Young. He was most affectionately known as the famous Jet Jackson on the Disney Channel. And at the time of his passing, he was filming Rizzoli and Isles on TNT as Detective Barry Frost. And he's been in other movie shows. But the point is that I have learned these things through my own personal pain, through feeling stressed out, through feeling burnt out, with everything that I have going on as a parent. I have a career, I have a spouse, I have children, I have my own interests and goals, right? So I know from my own experience and my own training in mental health that it is imperative that you mind your health and that you take care of your mental health, particularly as a parent, in order for you to show up as your best self for yourself and your family. Like, you are showing your children what they should be doing, whether you're saying it or not. You are modeling that to them. So if they see you not taking care of themselves, yourself, they are going to end up doing the same thing. Okay? So one of the things that I like to share anytime that I am presenting to parents or talking about mental health is to know the 5 signs of emotional pain. So this will apply to yourself, your children, or anyone around you. So these signs may indicate that someone is in emotional pain and needs additional help. So the first is if you are not feeling like yourself, or if you notice a personality change. The second is if you're feeling agitated, if like things bother you that didn't bother you before. The next is feeling withdrawn and isolating. The next is lack of self-care. So if there are like your basic self-care things that now seem to be too much, like brushing your teeth, doing your hair, getting dressed, that might be a sign. Like if those things become difficult or if you just stop doing those things. Also feeling hopeless. So if you're talking to someone and like no matter what you say, you're trying to be positive, but everything is still just negative to them, they have no hope at all, that could be a sign. So here we have some healthy habits of emotional well-being. And I do want to say on that last slide, if you notice these signs in yourself or your loved one, including your children, this is an indication that it's time for you to reach out and get the help, the support that is needed. So these healthy habits of being emotional, or of having emotional well-being, we start with take care. So we talked about that before, take care of you. Check in, okay? So we get our annual physicals, or at least we should get them, right? Our annual physicals with our primary care doctor. We want to check in on our emotional health as well, okay? So you can talk with your primary care even about that, or a counselor or a faith-based leader, family and friends. Like, just make sure you're doing a check-in on that emotional side. Engage, we talked about this, engaging and connecting wisely. So this is the healthy relationships that we talked about earlier. Relax, we talked about making time to take a break and have fun. So, and being active, meditate, garden, dance, cook, sing, like whatever that looks like for you, make time for that. One of the things I want to suggest here is, you know how you have that calendar and you have all those appointments on there for your children, their extracurricular activities, their doctor's appointments, that work meeting that you have. You can use that calendar and schedule some time for yourself as well. Like, make an appointment with yourself on a regular basis. Next, a way to have emotional well-being is to know those 5 signs, so that you are aware, and if those things show up in you or your children, you know that that's an indication, and you know that you can reach out for support and resources to help get through that situation. So the key points from our workshop today: be aware that your mental health significantly impacts your child's mental health. You are the key. You are the model. Build your and your child's resiliency to handle life's challenges, which we know occur. Next, be intentional about your self-care. That is really the best thing that you can do to help your children. So here I have some mental health resources. We have the lifelines that are helpful. NAMI normally has local chapters in your area. They are a great resource. And then one of my favorites is the crisis text line. And I was actually a crisis text line counselor previously. So this text line, you can text hello, start, hi, like whatever you want to 741-741, and they will have crisis counselors on the other end of that to respond to whatever mental health challenge you're having. And if they need to, they can actually dispatch help to come to your local area, local resources that can actually come to wherever you are. And some of our young people are more likely to send a text than to pick up the phone and actually speak with someone. So I really like this as a resource. So of course, I'll take questions, and I believe you can type those in the chat and we can address any questions. And I want to thank you all again for attending this workshop, learning about parenting mental health and how to optimize your mental wellness and regain your joy. I invite you to follow me online at Tamu Lewis, TAMULEWIS, and also my organization, LTY Foundation. So you can see that information here. I look forward to connecting with you and also being able to answer any questions that you have. Again, I'm really passionate about helping parents and moms in particular. So I hope that you found this of value, and I look forward to connecting with you online. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Tamu. Let's start our Q&A session. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible. If you'd like to speak, you can raise your virtual hand. You'll be unmuted so you can share. Remember to put any questions for our presenter in the Q&A. Our first question, are there any questions thus far? Or does anybody have a question that they wish to ask? So there is a question in the chat. It says, this is from David or Mitch Green. It says, how to best address a child who answers, I don't know, when asked what's wrong?
Yes, so I'm not sure the age of the child, but that is a sort of common response. And they may be really just feeling like they don't have a safe space to talk. So I think you could make suggestions as to, is there something that they can draw to illustrate what it is that they're feeling, something they may be able to write, or you could also ask them, is there someone else that they would like to speak to? Or also, what do they need from you that would be helpful to them? Because sometimes when we ask our children questions, they just don't want to take the time to explain how they're feeling, or depending on their age, they may not have the words to articulate what it is. And again, just figure that we're not going to understand anyway because we're the parents and, you know, we're older and, you know, things have changed, right? It's not like it was when we were younger. So there's multiple techniques. And then depending on how old the child is too, you might want to adjust those.
And he says it's a girl, and then he says, thank you. It's a teenage girl.
Okay, yes.
All right, and then I do have some questions. So the first one is, Youth are struggling in the pandemic. How do we guide families to deal with struggles and fear? And that's the first part of the question. I'll ask it in parts
Okay.
because it's a lengthy question. So if you can answer that first part.
Right. So the pandemic, that's part of the heightened state of stress that I talked about in the presentation. And it's prolonged, right? It's lasting longer than any of us could have imagined. So I think that it's helpful to acknowledge that this is unknown. So we don't necessarily have all of the answers, but what we can do is be present and work with what we have. So try to avoid the worrying and being anxious about what's going to happen later or when is this going to be over, and do some of those exercises around being present. Like right now, you and I are here and we're talking and we're okay. Like everything is okay right now. And we're going to work through things as they come up. We have resources, and then ask again, what can I do to help you feel less anxious or feel better? Is there someone I can reach out to, right, at your school or whatever that the situation is that's going on? Make sure you ask what they think would be helpful.
And then is there any advice for parents who may be feeling that fear of what will happen next?
Yes. So in that case, I think that monitoring or being aware of how much time you spend listening to those stories in the news about what's going on, those kind of naturally create some anxiety because they're always talking about a problem or an issue. So be aware of that and try to monitor your time or cut down on that time that you're kind of feeding yourself that information. And the same thing holds true for us adults. Try to do things and activities that promote you being present. So be aware that you're okay right now. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but we're okay right now. And then there's things that we can do to build that resiliency that we talked about. So when the challenge does come up, we're better able to handle it.
Okay. And then our second question is, how can we work together to build a stronger support system for youth who struggle with disruptive mood disorder, dysregulation disorder, or DMDD?
Yeah. So in that case, I think a lot of it is around education, right? And you really have to be an advocate for your child. Sometimes parents, we might assume that the school, that they go to or particular teachers would be able to handle this situation, and they're aware of it and they know what sort of, accommodations might help your child, but they may not. And the thing is, with mental health challenges, they show up differently in each person. And there's different things that might help that child that didn't help another child. So I think advocacy is a big piece of this. And also being aware of what resources are available in your school or your school district. So really, and this takes time. I had to do this myself. Really, reach out to that school social worker, that school counselor, the principal, and advocate for your child, because they can make accommodations. They just need help sometimes knowing what those are. So really that education piece and being an advocate.
Thank you. And then are there types of non-traditional family counseling available? Some people feel threatened by traditional types of counseling, will be more receptive to alternative methods.
Yes, one of the things that my family was able to take advantage of, and again, I'm in Atlanta Metro, so it may not be the same everywhere, but it's something that you can research and see what might be available in your area. But one of the things we did was in-home therapy. So traditionally, right, you have to go to a counselor. You might have one for you as a parent. You might have a different one for your child. but there are in-home therapy sessions that are, or therapy programs that are available where they come into the home on a weekly basis, and you're able to build that kind of trusted relationship, and they're providing therapy for the family, not just the child who may have the actual diagnosis or may be experiencing the mental health challenges. We found this really helpful because it helped us as parents too, because I mean, we don't know everything. And again, mental health challenges show up differently in different people. So you might search for that in-home therapy in your area. I know you can go to Psychology Today. If you're looking for certain programs, you can put in like your zip code, and then also NAMI that I mentioned in the presentation. So NAMI.org. You can go on there and find your local chapter and reach out to them. A lot of times they're a great resource for what's available in your local area.
All right, thank you, Tamu. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to also add, because I'm here in the Austin area,
Yeah.
there are non-traditional therapists in the community, and some of them do family components. Specifically, I know Equan has a family component to it. So that's an addition to just the in-home therapy.
Yes, that's a good one too. My daughter actually participated in some equine therapy, and then there's that she loved. So working with the animals was really grounding for her. And then there's also other sort of natural alternative methods.
Yeah.
So there's like breath work as well. And what am I thinking of? Reiki, like energy work can be done as well.
Thank you. The next one is more of a just a resource for those that are in regards to NAMI, which you've mentioned before. Tanya Parker mentioned that NAMI offers a free self-paced online class to learn about navigating mental health in your child. It's called NAMI Basics. She had asked about the question, does anyone know the services that NAMI Central Texas provides? And that can be found on their website as well. And you've given that website at the end as part of one of your resources. Do you want to add anything else to that, ma'am?
I would say also that at my organization, my nonprofit, LTYfoundation.org, we do parent support circles as well. So that's something that you might be interested in. And then I do I have a parent support tribe group on Facebook, a private group on Facebook as well, where we kind of try to just provide additional support and resources and a safe community where you don't have to be concerned with being judged. And I will say that I participated in my local NAMI chapter, where this is before the pandemic, where I would go in to a parent support group and meet with them twice a month, just to share resources and situations and be amongst people who were going through similar challenges. So I found that to be very helpful.
And just a follow-up, just for my own question, is that Facebook group open to whomever, or how do they access that if they want to? Like if there's, I mean, is it people from all over?
It is.
That? Okay.
Right. Yeah. Because it's virtual, it is people from all over. And there's some screening questions at the beginning, of course. And we monitor it because we want to make sure that there's not like ill intent, going on in the group. So that's available. And I think I'll see if I can put the link in the chat as well. And then I do also, the resource is not available yet, but it's coming. I do have a book that's coming out about parenting mental health. It should be out this spring.
All right, thank you. Thank you. The next question is, can you also touch on parenting young adults? Uh-oh, hold on, I lost my question. Can you also touch on parenting young adults through this time too? Both of my young adult children have been trying to launch through this pandemic and has been mentally defeating to them at times.
Yes, and I can actually touch on that from personal experience as well. My oldest daughter is 20, so she graduated from high school in 2020 in the height of the pandemic, right? So all of the normal things that we were used to, they couldn't happen. So I think it's very difficult to launch during this time. And I think as parents, we can just be encouraging and be patient and try to help our children be patient and realize that things might take a little longer than you expected. And that's okay. Like, it's okay for it to take a little longer, and just do things, encourage them to do things that help them feel like they're moving forward, and try to avoid the comparison piece, right, that they're getting all the time through social media. And know that everyone's journey is different, and there's different paths to success, and there's different definitions of success. So they really need to give themselves some grace. And then also, again, that question, ask them, what can you do to help them feel more support? What do they think would be helpful? So then that can inform you on how to best respond, because there might be some alternative approaches or some arrangements, that you can help them with, or there might be, I don't know what the situation is, but there's all sorts of programs right around education or jobs or living arrangements. So there's different resources that maybe you can help them identify once you know what they think would be helpful to them.
Thank you. Thank you. The next one is, are there support groups for teenagers? And I'm not sure what part of the state this person is from. Their name is Nikki Washington.
Mm-hmm. What you can do there, when my daughter was a teenager, and even starting like in the adolescent years, around 13 or so, I searched for support groups for teenagers. And sometimes they have like the names are different so that they don't necessarily feel like they're going because something is wrong with them and they need help. So I remember one being called like a social skills teen group. Like, it doesn't even have the word support in it. So there could be resources through like your local counseling organizations, or again, NAMI might be able to point you in the right direction, or do the search on Psychology Today to see what's available in your area. My daughter actually really did enjoy that, the teen groups that one of our local counseling organizations provided, because and it was taught by like a younger counselor, so they felt like they could identify with that person better. So hopefully there is something in your local area, because those can be very beneficial.
Thank you. The next question is, how do you get help for an adult child who has demonstrated mental health problems for years, but has refused to get help because I am in perfect health? I'm doing that in quotes because it's in quotes in here. Deep denial.
So this is difficult, right? Because once your child reaches 18, you really don't have any rights, so to speak, in the mental health system, right? Or in any type of medical treatment. They do have to be willing to get the help. And then of course you can support them and take them to the doctor or whatever it is that they might need. But if they are not willing and they're not in a crisis situation, then really your hands are tied as a parent, right? So I know that because my oldest daughter is 20. And I think that it is, unfortunately, it's common for them to feel like they have everything under control and that they're not the ones with issues, everybody else is. So I think that's common. And as parents, I mean, all we can do is do what we can, right? So we can be supportive when they reach out. One of the things that I do is I encourage peer support, but again, they have to be willing to get the support. So, but there are things that are virtual now, so they don't necessarily have to, get in a car and drive themselves to like a peer support group. They can connect with peers online and maybe see that some of the things that they are experiencing, other people are experiencing those too, so they're not alone. And if they, are in complete denial, that's probably not something they're going to do. So as a parent, you kind of have to wait and just be supportive when they do reach out. Have your resources lined up, your ducks in a row. So when they do reach out, or unfortunately, if there is a crisis situation, you know who to call. Like it's right there at your fingertips. You know what to do.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, how can we decipher the heightened stress and impacts of COVID living from typical preteen puberty impacts on mental wellness? It's hard to know if this is a stage or more intervention is needed for my daughter.
Yeah, and that's difficult even during non-pandemic times, right? Because you have these hormones in adolescence, and the hormones can really impact behaviors. But I would say that the fact that you're questioning it, I think it would be helpful to see a doctor and get some help. I started with our primary care or our pediatrician when my daughter was younger, because I had a trusted relationship. We had been going to that pediatrician since she was a baby, right? So sometimes if you do have a trusted relationship with the physician already, you can talk with them and see if you can get some insight and kind of help you discern, whether this is something typical based on the age and the external stress, or if it would be helpful to get some help. And even if there's like anxiety or depression and things that are happening that you do see like a direct line to the pandemic, that still needs to be addressed. So you would still want to get some help with that. So I think either way, it's a good idea to talk to a professional, a mental health professional, or, like I said, maybe start with your pediatrician.
Thank you. The next question, I have a loved one with emotional pain. No matter how I appropriately encourage, the response is generally negative and self-defeating. How do I respond?
I think knowing that you are there and that you're creating this safe space for them. So when they're ready to talk, they can reach out to you. Sometimes, unfortunately, our loved ones don't necessarily respond when we want them to respond. But I think just being that constant source of support and encouragement, it does actually matter. I know with my daughter, I would feel like I was doing everything I could and nothing was working. But in time, I could see the results of what I had poured into her and the support that we built around her. I could see the outcomes of that. And again, it's not always timely, but I think it matters. So for you, if you come across like different information or organizations or links that you think might resonate with them, I think it's important to share that information and then, just wait, kind of just be there and keep continuing that or keep promoting that, providing that safe space. So when they're ready, they know that they can trust you and you're there to help.
Thank you. This question comes from Monica Reyes. It says, when should we seek professional help for our child?
So that goes back to those signs that we covered, right? So if you're noticing, and again, it's age appropriate, so it's going to look different at different ages. But if you notice like a personality change, if you notice like increased agitation in your child, or if you notice, let's say that they normally are really good about keeping themselves up in terms of like basic daily habits, brushing teeth, washing the face, how they dress, if you notice changes in these things, or just really being isolated when they would normally spend time with their friends or normally spend time talking at home with the family. So if you notice any of these signs, that's when you need to reach out for help, right? And so typically, if we're questioning it, that's time. It's time to go ahead and reach out. And again, that help can look different, right? So there's different types of approaches, different types of therapies that are available. But I would encourage you, and it's fine just to do a check-in too, because you might do a check-in, right? And you might find out they're okay. Like maybe there's not anything you need to do beyond that check-in. But I think, I would encourage you to go ahead and reach out.
Thank you. From Magdalena de la Cruz, how do you know how much space should you give? Sorry, how do you know how much space you should give your child or your teen when you as a parent see her withdrawing from communication? And she says her teen is 16 years old.
So I think with the teenagers, some expression, I guess, of withdrawal might be considered normal because they're trying to find themselves, right? So they may want to, talk to their friends more than they talk to you. So, I mean, a level of it may be considered normal, but if you see it, I think like you're mentioning, if you see it increasing and let's say your communication with them is decreasing, I think that's a sign because that's the beginnings of isolation, right? So you don't want to sort of micromanage them and always be hovering, but if you see their behaviors are changing and you've created that, healthy space for them to exist as an individual, but these other things are happening too, like the decreased communication or a lot of isolation, then I feel like you should go ahead and reach out at that point for support.
All right, thank you. We have two more questions in the Q&A right now. One is from Chandra Monet, and it says, is there a way to tell my 17-year-old son that I want a close relationship with him without making it sound like I am putting pressure on him?
Yes, so I'm assuming the way that you phrase the question that you don't feel like you have a close relationship now. And I think from the child's perspective, again, I think that questioning around what is it that they would like from you, what would they feel would be helpful from you, versus how you think you want to help. I think it's important for them to have some input in that. And also, you're the parent, so you would have noticed through the years, if there's particular activities that he enjoys, if there's things that you can just naturally begin to do more of together, then that would naturally kind of bring your relationship closer, right? So, I don't know if he's into sports, maybe you can go to a sporting event with him, or you can watch a sporting event, different things like that. If you could just try to be intentional about the interactions and do them on his terms, then hopefully naturally the relationship would begin to get closer.
Thank you. And then from Crystal Brinkley, it says, has anyone found teen support groups that include teens of color or facilitators of color? I found one for my daughter, but there was no cultural points of connection whatsoever. And I'm not sure where Ms. Brinkley is from.
Yeah, now I will say that's difficult. I mean, in my experience, I have not come across a lot of mental health professionals of color that in general, but then also even less those who have a specialty dealing with adolescents and teens. So it may take time for you to dig and find what you're looking for. And again, based on where you are, I would still say, start with NAMI, and you can actually call them too. Sometimes when you go to websites and you just, there's information everywhere. There's like information overload. You can call and speak to someone and tell them that you're looking for support groups for your teen or counselors for your teen, and you would like a person of color, you can call them, and then also that Psychology Today. But I will say there's a shortage overall anyway, and then even more of a shortage when you're looking for a person of color.
Okay, and then she had typed in the chat that she's in North Austin. The only thing I would add, if it's okay with you, Tamu, is Crystal, is to reach out while you're in this conference too, to see in this communication, because there may be providers in this conference of color that you could reach out to and connect with to see if they are offering anything that would be beneficial or can connect you with people that they may know that are offering the services that you are looking for. Would be the other thing. And then also, I know the Hogg Foundation, I know I get a lot of emails from Vicky Coffey in regards to people looking for or searching for particular types of therapists. So sometimes it's good to reach out to them as well. That was our last question. Are there any questions? Are there any hands raised or anything that I cannot see that people may have a question that they want to ask verbally versus putting it in the Q&A? I guess if I opened up my screen a little bit bigger. Yeah, I haven't heard from anybody. It doesn't seem like there's any other questions coming through. So I do want to say thank you to Tamu Lewis. I want to thank you for this wonderful presentation. I took lots of notes, lots of information that I think would be beneficial to us all. I did want that exercise you gave us, that first exercise with the 4 questions, and I wrote down some of the people's answers in regards to our expectation of our children and things of that nature. A lot of them, that first question, people range between 3 and 5 as their answer about what are your expectations of your child. Somebody put a 9. And someone put a 1, which was low. And then how does your child think your expectations are of them? It ranged between 2 and 5. And that's the same thing for to what degree do you expect your child to do better than you? Between 2 and 5. And then to what degree do you find challenging communicating with your child? And that range between 2 and 5, and somebody put a 6. So I think those answers, I took them to heart because I have a 15-year-old son. He's the last one. I tell everybody those girls were easy. This boy, I'm not sure. So I thought these answers were really great. And what it made me think about is that how being raised, my mother expected us to be better. You know, we want our children to do better than what we ourselves have done.
Absolutely.
And that may impact our relationship. So is there a way to still want our children to outdo us in whatever form or fashion? Because I think that I always want even my oldest to excel past what I've done and not make the same mistakes maybe that I've made. So is there a way to communicate that without making it feel as if we're putting too much pressure on our children?
Yeah, I think, I ask those questions because those are like normal feelings, right? That we want our children to do better than we have. So I think it's important to mind the whole growth mindset, right? You want to encourage your children and be supportive, but also let them know that we all make mistakes. You know, our journeys look different from one another. And what's most important to us as parents is that they're healthy and happy, right? So encourage them to reach their dreams, but let them know that their dreams might not be the same as ours, right? They don't have to define themselves by our expectations. We just want them to keep moving forward on their path to success by whatever their definition is of success, right? So I think that open communication and really talking with them about what they enjoy and what they desire, what they think they want to do. And then you figure out how you can support them in that, so that it's not always coming from our direction, from the parents' direction of putting expectations on them, but it's more collaborative, right? You're actually asking them what it is that they want to do and how do they define success, and then you can support them in that. So it feels like it's coming from their direction instead of just from our direction as a parent.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I truly enjoyed your presentation. We want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and insight with us. And many thanks to all of you guys for joining us today. Last housekeeping we have to do is please remember to take a few minutes to complete the workshop survey. It helps us to know how we're doing. If you're seeking CEUs, remember that your forms will be in the survey. The links are in the chat. Thank you, Tamu, and I believe you will have the presentation will be logged into the conference website, so we could go back and review that. And you had a list of your contact information as part of your PowerPoint, and I think people were interested in that. And like I said, again, thank you so much for all that you do and for your wonderful presentation. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. I have enjoyed interacting with you all, and I really do appreciate the questions that you asked, and I'm glad that you found the information of value. And I'll be on the app as well, so if you think of anything after this, I'll continue to check the comments and things that come in through the application. So thank you all.
Thank you all. You have a great day. Thanks,
You too.
everyone. We'll see you in the afternoon sessions. You guys take care. Bye-bye.